Hello, my name is Glen Greenawalt, and I'm the co-founder and chief operating officer of LGC Hospitality Staffing. I'm grateful to be a part of this community and also to have a venue where I can serve you. Last fall, I did a video titled Volatility Ahead, where I spoke of the many macro forces that are affecting all of us personally and also our businesses. Volatility presents opportunities for those that can position themselves to take advantage of it, and also allows them to minimize the downside effects. The companies who have the courage to look ahead will fare the best. This video isn't meant to be a prediction. Instead, it's meant to examine an area of your business that has a high probability of being affected in the coming months. The title of this video is Gross Margin Squeeze. Let's start by looking at two numbers that have been stealing the headlines recently, and they are the CPI, the Consumer Price Index, and the PPI, the Producer Price Index. For June, the CPI came in at 9.6%, and the PPI came in at 11.6%. Both numbers are relatively high, and we have not seen numbers like this in over 4 decades. The CPI looks back and tells us what Americans were paying for goods and services a month ago, and the way that I view PPI is that as a forward-looking indicator that tells us where prices are heading. The PPI tells us what companies are paying today for their input costs that go into their products. Since we know that companies are paying 11.6% more, we can guess that in the coming months, they'll be passing those increased costs on to us. In this way, we can see what is coming. From this perspective, the CPI looks back and the PPI is forward-looking. I personally tend to pay more attention to the PPI numbers for this and a few other reasons. We're in an environment where we have rising costs of labor, raw materials, finished goods, and even the cost of borrowing is going up. This has and will cause companies to raise their prices to make up for the rising costs. The price of goods and services will continue to rise until the consumers, your customers, are no longer willing to pay them. That is the point where demand will fall, otherwise known as demand destruction. It's at this point where companies will have to start eating their rising costs, their gross margins and their earnings will begin to suffer. Consider that we are entering that phase now, and that as we go through the year, we'll see more of an inability for these companies, maybe even yours, to pass on these higher costs. This will squeeze the gross margins and the earnings. This also has a secondary effect, and that is when the rate of change for profit growth slows, hiring also tends to slow. And I'm talking about the rate of change for profit here, meaning if a company whose profit was growing by 20% is now only growing at 10%, they'll still slow their hiring. Can we still have a great year and have double-digit growth? Absolutely. But companies that overreact and cut too deep with no plan but to hunker down will lose the most here. So just to recap, it's two things: the gross margin and the profit squeeze, and then the tendency to begin slow hiring. What if we're entering a very different business environment that will last many years? Much like what occurred in the 1970s. Would you be able to win in that environment? The answer is yes, and many did. But in order to do so, you'll have to recognize the shift and play the game differently. Recency bias, which I covered in my last video, will keep some operating as they have for the last 10 or 20 years. The risk for them is that it will limit their success and cause a lot of frustration as they're trying to navigate with an outdated map. In order to win, you will have to have a new map to navigate with. The way to win starts with understanding that the landscape has changed and knowing that you must change in order to succeed. What can you do? Stay nimble. Don't get over the tips of your skis here, and also resist the urge to cut to the bone with your expenses, especially if you're in the service business. Without great people, there is no great service. You can still maximize your ability to both serve your customers and to grow your profits. Higher staffing costs may mean your gross margin takes a hit, but if you utilize it during peak times only, you'll both be able to serve your customers at a higher level and to capture more revenue. If the workforce is contingent, you simply don't have to use them during the slow periods. I continue to believe that we're at an inflection point where we must reinvent how we conduct business so that we can win. Those that are quick to recognize it will get ahead of it and thrive, and those that continue to hope for the old days to return will not do so well. The thing about these points of change in history is that they seem to start out slow and then they happen all at once. In all cases, there are individuals and companies who saw it coming and were prepared, and there were also companies that had no clue or tried to ignore the new reality. In every instance, those who anticipated and made the change outperformed. Business leaders anticipate and then leverage the change to their advantage. If you recognize the need to build a more dynamic way to both capture revenue and match revenue with your payroll expenses, one that will allow you to easily shift with the changing landscape, I'd like to offer LGC's help in the development of your new and winning strategy. We have a wealth of knowledge related to what's working and what is not, and it's all based on best practices that some of our most successful clients are utilizing. LGC has 40 offices nationwide and nearly 30,000 active temporary employees who are skilled in the hospitality and food service industry. We are in tune with the challenges that exist for our clients, and we can provide you with the quality staff you need to both service your customers and to capture revenue during peak times. We offer temp to hire, permanent placement, subscription services, and market research packages to our clients. Our managers will really take the time to understand your needs and help develop the right plan for you and your business. We'd love the opportunity to navigate through these changing times with you and to really be a partner that adds value. At LGC, we encourage everyone to lead themselves first so that they're prepared to lead others when the time comes. If you would like the opportunity to partner with a leading organization, please reach out to me directly or to any one of our 40 local branches. Thank you for being a partner and a part of what we do. God bless.